Now, what is a gallon of water worth to you? It's a great question. I've got some numbers to help you put it in perspective. Right now, on average, you Americans are paying $2.67 for a gallon of gasoline. Compare that to a gallon of milk, you pay about $3.46 for a gallon of milk. If you were to buy a gallon of coffee, if you bought it by the gallon, it would cost you about $15.60 for good old-fashioned brewed coffee at Starbucks. If you want a gallon of a latte, it could cost you up to nearly, say, $50, $48 for a gallon of latte. But for water, you pay less than 1 penny per gallon. That is by far and away the cheapest utility out there. And this at a time when our water infrastructure system desperately needs updates and repairs to the tune of $4.8 trillion. $4.8 trillion over the next 2 decades. That is how much the American Society of Civil Engineers says we need to invest in our water infrastructure system to make needed repairs. So all this begs the question, should we be paying more for water? Joining me now from Philadelphia is Susan Story. She is the president and CEO of American Water Works, the nation's largest publicly traded water company. Susan, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Why should we be paying more for water?
Well, good morning, Olivia. And I will tell you that water is the best deal we have today. When you look at the Americans, the amount they pay for utilities every month, about 1% of their total bill, or only 10% of utilities, go to water. But we do have a problem. There are 2 major issues in this country. One is water supply that we are seeing in California and Texas especially. And the second, which is all across this country, is aging infrastructure. A big part of the water and wastewater system that we have in this nation were built, some of it in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and it's being replaced at a rate of about once every 250 years. So we can't continue that and have the clean, safe water that we've all come to rely on in the past several decades.
Susan, of course, this is Bloomberg TV, so a lot of our viewers are going to be watching this and saying, why are we talking about setting prices? The market should set the price. Why isn't the market working and setting a higher price for water?
Well, part of it is we're not recognizing the true value of water because we have not made, the entire water utility industry, which is 84% municipal governmental entities and about 16% that is investor-owned, because we've not, over the past several decades, made that investment. Water is artificially low. So now that we are having to make additional investments into water and wastewater, we're going to start seeing some increases in those prices. Now, it is up to us to make those price increases affordable for our customers, but they will have to go up if we're going to continue to invest in this infrastructure to keep the water supplies that we have today.
You know, I was researching this segment and I saw all sorts of interesting stories about how the water rights, particularly in California, where they are suffering from very severe drought, date back to the gold rush, and perhaps we just really need to update the laws around water as a public utility. Susan, why do you think Americans aren't more comfortable talking about charging more for water?
Well, I think that, one of the issues around the value of water is that we see water fall from the sky as rain, and we think, well, the rain is there, the earth provides it, it comes to our tap. What we don't think about is the fact that we have to take that water, we have to treat it, and then we have to pump it so that it's there when you turn the tap on. So I don't think there's a realization of the actual cost of treating and moving the water so that it becomes as convenient as it is for everybody today. Now, you brought up a great point about the value of water, especially in the West. What we're seeing because of the drought in California is a more accurate value of water, especially where there's a scarcity. We operate in several areas in California. We, for years, promoted conservation in terms of having drought-resistant landscaping, water-efficient appliances and equipment. But what we see there is a tiered rate schedule to where the more water you use, the more you pay. And I know that Californians today have a much better appreciation of how much water actually costs than they did before the drought.
Indeed, particularly now that the governor has told them that they need to cut back deliberately and spend less time in the shower. Susan, a lot of people who are also concerned about the water supply, as you are very wary of fracking. But American Water sells water to the fracking companies. Why are you supplying them, and why are you not worried about the potential threat that fracking poses to the water supply?
That's a great question, Olivia. Part of it is that the water that we supply mainly in Pennsylvania, where we have regulated operations, we ensure the quality of the water supply. The water that we supply is only on the supply side. We are not involved in the produced water as a result of the water that comes back up out of the wells. But we are supplying water. And a few facts, the water that we supply, because it's treated, really the drillers then can avoid putting additional biocides or other chemicals because the water does not cause algae growth, so that they don't have to treat the water as they do if it's raw water. Second of all, we're able to ensure that that supply of water is not contaminated because it's out of our water supplies that we supply to our regulated operations.
Yeah.
The third thing is, by us building water pipelines, we're able to take trucks off the road. So rather than having all of these trucks haul water to these sites, we estimate that just 3 trunk lines in Pennsylvania and Butler County reduce the need for 500,000 truckloads over the life of those wells. So we think that for us, our environmental reputation is critical. The sustainability of water supplies is one of the most critical responsibilities that we feel we have, and we know that we can do this in a way that ensures that the U.S. is a leader in energy, but that we also are protecting our water supplies.
Understood. Susan, just very quickly, a final quick question. Almond milk somehow has sort of become the lightning rod for the California drought and water mismanagement here in the U.S. Do I really need to stop drinking almond milk?
No. I think what we have to do is we have to be smart. We have to look at water supplies just quickly. If you don't have groundwater and you don't have surface water, we need to do more desalination and more water recycling and reuse for things that don't require potable water. And I think by doing that together, we can find ways to have the water supplies we need.